The black and blue division was forged out of fire and ice. Cold stares that never melted in the heat of battle defined players who symbolized the work ethic of America's heartland and recalled pro football's primitive origins.
The black and blue division is football. I mean, that's where football really came from. You take the old industrial cities, Chicago and Detroit and Green Bay.
It was kind of like the blue-collar division because kind of everybody had that common work ethic that the way you win this game is just to really get a little mud in your face and get down in the dirt and really play it a certain way. The name was appropriate because many times you ended the game with teams being black and blue for one thing. But I think it was kind of a style.
When the NFC Central was created in 1967, it was immediately governed by the law of the jungle. Savagery held sway in a world where sophistication was a totally meaningless concept.
There was no finesse involved. I mean, if you played in Minnesota or Chicago or Detroit or Green Bay in those days, there was no finesse. It was get after it, and it really was. It was a knockdown, drag out, because the only way to stop people like Green Bay and Chicago were to beat them up. It was really a defense-dominated division. Minnesota had a great defense. Detroit was always known for defense. And, of course, Green Bay and Chicago was always defense. Most of the teams ran the ball more than they passed it. I think that's where they got the black and blue.
The emphasis, again, was on the running game. And when you run the football that much, there's going to be a lot of pounding, a lot of punishment. And the games were all pretty close, and there was a tremendous rivalry.
And some of those battles, then they started to live up to the nickname of black and blue. They were very physical games.
We played the Bears, and we had 11 people carted off the football field. And it was probably the most vicious game I've ever seen in my life. And the Bear-Lion games have always been that way. It's a very physical game, the Bear-Lions games. Always has been that way. I always get hurt in those games. Don't like those games.
People care less if they scored touchdowns. They want to see people go out and beat up on each other. And that's what the black and blue division was for a long time.
The bare-knuckled brawlers of the black and blue division played in a bloody rage. To these men, a mere tackle was a nicety, while a knockout punch was a necessity.
Players are human. You've got a reputation, black and blue division. So I think a guy that might have been physical to a certain degree, all of a sudden felt pretty macho about the whole thing.
The black and blue division was guts, tough football. You kind of won the game on the field. We played in the mud. We played in the snow.
The legend of the black and blue division will forever remain frozen in time. It is a legend born of intense competition and impressive achievement. The years 1967 to 1973 constitute the division's heyday, and in 5 of the 7 seasons during this period, the best record in the conference belonged to a team from the NFC Central. But whether they won or lost, all 4 teams in the division embodied the brute force that produced one of the most fitting nicknames in the history of professional sports.
I've always felt that truly was probably the best name of any division that I think exists in the National Football League.